My name is Donna Hale, and at 32 years old, people say money doesn't buy happiness, but they forget it buys something quiet or security. That was what I was after. Not yachts, not trips to Santorini, just a life where one flat tire or one layoff didn't send me into a spiral. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona, where the pines are tall and the air feels older than memory. My house is a small two-bedroom with creaky floors and a stubborn water heater. I bought it in 2016 after landing my systems analyst job at a medical logistics firm. I drive a 2008 Toyota Matrix with a dent on the rear bumper and no intention of replacing it. Most mornings start the same: coffee, oatmeal, and a quick glance at my bank account before logging in for work. I liked seeing the numbers tick upward, slowly but steadily. $92,300 became $97,200, then $212,400. By the summer of 2024, it sat at $212,000. That number meant something. It meant I had done things right. That every skipped vacation, every homemade lunch, every time I said no thanks to takeout or drinks or new clothes wasn't in vain. My savings wasn't about hoarding. It was about being ready for emergencies, for opportunities, for the unknown. I didn't talk about it much, not because I was hiding anything, but because people don't always know how to hold someone else's discipline. They turn it into judgment, or jealousy, or jokes. My brother Ellis once teased, "What are you saving for? The end of the world?" No, I wanted to say, I'm saving so that the world doesn't end me. At the time, I didn't realize I wasn't just saving money. I was trusting systems, ones I believed would protect me, ones I thought no one close to me would ever dare touch. And then came the reunion. Every June, our family makes the drive to Lake Powell for a long weekend at my parents' old log cabin. It's always the same grilled food, badly organized relay games, and too many folding chairs. We pretend we're still close, even when the conversations thin out after an hour. I arrived early Friday afternoon, the heat already thick in the air. My dad waved from the deck, beer in hand, and my mom was in the kitchen pretending not to be annoyed about the late arrivals. I unpacked, helped slice watermelon, and avoided questions about when I'd finally settle down. Ellis and Delaney showed up just before sunset in a dusty black sedan. He honked twice and rolled down the window, flashing that same crooked grin he'd had since he was 17. "Donna Hale!" he shouted, drawing out my name like a game show host. "Still off the grid and making spreadsheets?" I met him halfway down the gravel path. "Still making jokes that no one laughs at?" I asked. Delaney stepped out of the passenger side in a breezy sundress and sunglasses too big for her face. "Donna," she sang, "you look the same. Still so disciplined." She hugged me, the kind of embrace that's all surface and no anchor. It had been over a year since I'd seen them in person. Ellis smelled like aftershave and Red Bull, Delaney like sunscreen and some expensive citrus perfume. They looked good. Tired, maybe, but polished in a way I hadn't expected. At dinner, Ellis joked about my mountain monk lifestyle, asking if I'd taken a vow of silence or just of online dating. Delaney laughed along, but her eyes kept darting to my hands, my nails, my watch, the way I passed the serving bowl, watching me too closely. That night, as the others made s'mores and told the same stories from high school, I caught Delaney staring again. She smiled when I noticed. "You're always so put together, Donna," she said. "I don't know how you do it." I shrugged. "It's not that hard. I just plan." She nodded, slow and thoughtful, like she was learning something. The next morning, she was already in the kitchen when I came in for coffee. It was just the two of us that afternoon. Everyone else was napping or out on the water, but Delaney asked if I wanted to walk the lake trail with her. I said yes, more out of politeness than anything else. We walked in silence for a while, letting the gravel crunch beneath our shoes. The heat was dry, but the breeze off the water made it bearable. I could hear the distant hum of a jet ski and the low murmur of voices from across the cove. "I'm sorry if Ellis teased too much last night," Delaney said suddenly. "He thinks he's being funny." "He always has," I replied, keeping my tone light. She kicked a pebble off the path. "You've really built something solid, haven't you?" "I guess," I said. "It's taken time." Delaney stopped walking. "Donna," she said, her voice shifting softer, "I need to tell you something." I turned toward her, a knot forming before I even knew why. "I'm pregnant," she said, eyes already watering. "I found out last week." I blinked. Wow, congratulations. She gave a tiny half laugh. It's not good news. We're broke, like really broke. Ellis's car got repossessed last month. We're 3 months behind on rent. And now this. The knot tightened. I don't know how we're going to make it, she continued. I'm working double shifts at the cafe. He's between jobs again. I'm scared. I heard myself say, I can help. I didn't even think about it. I can send you something, get you caught up. No, she said quickly, shaking her head. No, I wasn't telling you to get anything from you. I would never ask. But she was, and we both knew it. Seriously, Delaney, I said, whatever you need. I mean it. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. Thanks. I don't know what to do anymore. We walked the rest of the way in silence. When we got back to the cabin, Ellis was playing cornhole with our cousins like nothing was wrong. That night, I went to bed thinking about numbers again, how much I could give without noticing it too much. The next morning, I came into the kitchen earlier than usual. The house was still quiet. No coffee brewing yet. No laughter from the porch. Delaney was at the table, leaning over my laptop. She looked up too quickly. Oh, sorry, she said, her fingers frozen mid-trackpad. I was just checking the weather. My phone died overnight. I nodded, swallowing the hesitation rising in my throat. Sure, no problem. She stepped back, giving me space. I walked over and closed the lid without looking at the screen. Storm's supposed to roll in around 4 o'clock, she added, as if that proved something. Then she smiled too wide and slipped out of the room. I stood there for a long second. My coffee mug was still in the cabinet. The laptop had been open, something I rarely do when I'm not using it. I didn't remember leaving it like that. I didn't remember logging out. A flicker of doubt passed through me. I brushed it away. It was probably nothing. Still, later that morning, I changed my banking password just in case. But I didn't go further. I didn't reset the security questions. I didn't enable two-factor authentication. I didn't even log out of anything because it felt ridiculous. Because this was Delaney. Because suspicion felt like betrayal. And I wasn't ready to betray anyone, especially not my own family. Instead, I kept thinking about the number I'd gone to bed with, $5,000. 5 wouldn't break me. It wouldn't even scratch the surface. I'd still have over $100,000 in savings. And if it meant they could breathe easier, stop falling behind on rent, prepare for the baby, wasn't that worth it? I didn't bring it up, not yet. But I started imagining how I might frame the offer. Something soft, something that didn't make them feel pitied. Maybe I could say it was a gift, a gesture, no strings. That afternoon, we all sat by the dock, pretending things were as simple as the sun on the water. Ellis cracked beers and tossed out one-liners. Delaney leaned against the railing and hummed along to the Bluetooth speaker. I caught her looking at me again, quick, unreadable. I looked away first. Sunday came fast. They left before lunch. Delaney hugged me hard and said, "You're the best, Donna. You really are." And then they were gone. I drove home that afternoon already planning the transfer in my head. Monday morning started like every other. I got up early, fed the neighbor's cat, brewed a cup of coffee, and sat down at the kitchen table. It was cloudy outside, the kind of quiet gray that makes everything feel slower. I opened my laptop, still half thinking about whether $5,000 was too much or not enough. I logged into my bank account, expecting to see the same familiar number that had greeted me for months now, 6 digits neat and earned. But what I saw stopped my breath. I blinked, refreshed the page, waited. Still zero. I stared for a few more seconds, my mind refusing to believe what my eyes were showing me. I thought it had to be a glitch, some temporary error. Maybe the site was down. Maybe I had accidentally logged into an old account. I checked again. Same result. I didn't even realize I was standing until I felt the coffee slosh against the side of the mug in my hand. I dialed customer service with fingers that didn't feel like mine. "Thank you for calling Western Oak Credit Union," the voice chirped. "How can I help you today?" "This is Donna Hale," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm logged into my account, and there's something wrong. My savings account is showing a zero balance. That's not possible." There was a pause on the other end. Then, a softer voice. "Let me pull up your file. Can you verify your full name and the last 4 digits of your social?" I did. Another pause. "I'm seeing a series of outgoing transfers from Friday night through Sunday," she said carefully, "all totaling $212,000. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from." My throat went dry. Where did it go? "Several external accounts. I'll email you the transaction list. The email landed before we even ended the call. I clicked through, scanning line after line. $18,500, $12,000, $22,000. Each withdrawal like a brick in my chest. Then I saw the names on the receiving accounts. Delaney R. Hale, Ellis J. Hale. The room around me faded. My brother, his wife, the ones who smiled across my dinner table and said, "Thank you for the lemonade," the ones who hugged me goodbye yesterday morning. I sat still for a long time. Then I stood up, packed a small overnight bag, and drove to Phoenix without telling anyone where I was going. I got there just after noon. Their apartment complex looked like it had been built fast and cheap. Sun-bleached siding, a sagging second-floor balcony, and a row of uneven mailboxes out front. I remembered it from one visit months ago, but now it felt unfamiliar, stripped of any charm I might have pretended to see before. I knocked once, then again. Ellis opened the door in basketball shorts and a wrinkled t-shirt, barefoot and holding a half-empty bottle of orange soda. "Donna," he said with a lopsided smile, "didn't expect to see you today. Everything okay?" I didn't answer, just walked past him into the apartment. Delaney was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. She glanced up, blinked once, then slowly set the phone down. She was wearing one of Ellis's sweatshirts, oversized and faded. "I know," I said. The air in the room tightened. Ellis shut the door behind us. Nobody asked. Still pretending. "My account," I said quietly. "All of it. Gone." Delaney gave a single soft laugh, like I'd told a mildly surprising story. "You're being dramatic." "You used your names," I said. "You didn't even bother hiding it." "Relax," she said, brushing imaginary lint from her knee. "We needed it more than you." "You're always fine, Donna. You'll bounce back." Ellis leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You save money like a doomsday prepper. You weren't doing anything with it." I pulled out my phone. "Then you won't mind the consequences." Delaney sat up straighter. "What are you doing?" I was already dialing. My thumb didn't shake. My voice didn't rise. It wasn't anger anymore. It was precision. 911. What's your emergency?" "I need to report a theft," I said. "A large-scale financial theft, and I'm standing in the apartment of the people who took it." Ellis's face dropped. Delaney didn't laugh this time. I gave the address without hesitation. "Yes," I said when they asked. "I'll wait outside." They were arrested 3 days later. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard from a neighbor that Ellis opened the door shirtless with a smirk that melted when the badge came out. Delaney cried. Of course, someone recorded it from across the lot, and it ended up on the neighborhood Facebook group. I didn't watch it. The police report was cold, factual. Charges listed in black ink. Identity theft, fraud, conspiracy. No room for sentiment. No mention of shared childhoods or lake trips or holiday photos. That night, my phone rang. It was my mother. I stared at the screen for a full minute before answering. "Donna," she sobbed before I could speak. "What have you done? She's your brother's wife. She's pregnant." I said nothing. "She's pregnant," she repeated. "You called the police on your own family." "She's not pregnant," I said. Silence. "What?" "She lied. There is no baby. The investigator told me. She admitted it under questioning." More silence. I could hear my father's voice in the background asking what was going on. Then a sharp curse. His. I think I'd never heard him say anything like that. "I need to go," she whispered, and the line went dead. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, phone still in hand. The dishwasher beeped that it had finished. A breeze came through the open window and moved the corner of a receipt on the counter. Everything around me was normal, steady, the kind of ordinary I'd worked so hard to protect. The next morning, I emailed the detective to confirm I'd be pressing charges and participating fully in the case. She responded quickly. Grateful, she said, and told me what would happen next. There'd be a trial. Maybe restitution, maybe not. But the process had begun, and I wasn't stepping back. The trial didn't take long. The evidence was clean. The transfers were traced directly back to them, down to the IP address in their apartment. Keith, the digital forensic analyst I hired, testified with a calm clarity that made their defense look like theater. Ellis sat there like it was all beneath him, his jaw clenched, his hands folded like a man enduring an inconvenience. Delaney cried through most of it, dabbing at her eyes like someone auditioning for mercy. Neither of them looked at me. The judge called it deliberate and predatory, called it a betrayal layered in both emotional and financial cruelty. I didn't flinch. Ellis took a plea deal. 6 years in federal prison, no chance of parole for at least 5. Delaney got 2 years and 5 years probation. She made a short statement at sentencing. Something about desperation, something about how sorry she was for the confusion. But she never once used my name, never looked at me. There was no apology. I recovered $71,000 through the court's asset seizure. Ellis had bought a new car with my money, leased under Delaney's name, but paid in full. They drained the checking account, and there was some jewelry the court let me claim. The rest, $42,000, was just gone. Groceries, rent, gambling maybe, beer. Ordinary life paid for by the quiet, disciplined one in the family. After sentencing, I walked out alone. No one waited for me. No messages, no apology calls from extended family. My parents didn't show. I didn't expect them to. There was no screaming match, no cathartic confrontation, just the sound of my shoes on the courthouse steps in the cold bite of January air. When I got home, I made tea and sat by the window. The sun was low, coloring the edge of the snowbank a soft gold. I didn't feel triumphant, just tired, but I wasn't broken. I changed every password I owned, closed every account, and opened new ones, spoke to my lawyer about sealing certain files. I bought a new lock for my door, not because I feared break-ins, but because I was learning how to be someone who guards things better. The rest of them stayed silent, and I started again. 8 months later, my life is quieter in ways that feel earned. I still live in the same house, drive the same car, drink the same morning coffee, but nothing is exactly the same, not really. I've rewritten the rules, starting with myself. The first thing I rebuilt was control. New bank, new credit union, two-factor everything. Security questions that no one could guess, not even someone who knew me since childhood. I learned how to encrypt folders, how to monitor logins, how to close digital doors without slamming them. I started saving again, slowly, patiently. It's not 6 figures, not yet, but every dollar means more now. It's not just money. It's proof I survived something that was meant to leave me gutted. I don't talk to Ellis or Delaney. I don't answer the calls from unknown numbers that started showing up last month. I don't check the neighborhood Facebook page where someone said Delaney posted a Bible quote about forgiveness. That's her business, not mine. Instead, I started hiking more. I take longer walks. I bought a used camera and started capturing small things, sunlight on pine bark, the curve of frost on a railing. I joined a trivia group at a local brewery where people only know me as Donna, the woman who knows weird geography facts. I'm dating again. His name is Carter. He's kind and a little awkward and knows when to leave things alone. I haven't told him everything yet. I probably will eventually. But for now, we laugh. We sit in silence that doesn't ache. And when he asks about my past, I tell him I used to save too much and trust too easily. The rest can come later. No one touches my accounts but me now. No one else holds the keys, not to my passwords, my finances, or my future. What they took changed everything, but what I built after, it's mine.